Clippers re-rack the table. They give it to George for three. Fifth three late in the clock. And knocks it down. George with 17, his second three.
And Johnson Billard comes out with his team order. Value in the basketball, getting some good shots at the rim.
George fields it low and shoots it high and rips the cords. His third three. George in 22 minutes.
Always under control, right?
The George, 27 for Paul George.
And it kind of an effortless
bucket here, but cut the lead to 4. Ahmad, they cut it to 3 with the triple last year in Atlanta, but the 3 years prior, he was a 39% three-point shooter, and now a man with rhythm, and his name is... All right, team, buckle up.
That's what he does.
Paul George drained it.
And he liked it on the defensive side. He likes the length for it. The offense sputters. It doesn't sputter for Paul George. That's 12. Covington spots an entry. Finds a wide open Paul George for three. It's good. George with 17.
To the 4-minute mark of the second quarter to get his first basket. Turns the corner, comes up firing. He's feeling good. 6 for George.
Pushed them to the limit where now it's not just the physical, but the mental mistakes come in. And Paul George right here with a beautiful pull.
Here comes Westbrook. Deflection back into his hands. Open is George. The three is en route. It's good. 69-59. Clippers by 10. The trade is confirmed in the next 10 minutes. George finding the 3-2 for one. Knocks it down. Paul George with 21. Take a sizable lead here into the fourth. Deep Chabal 9. George step back three. It's back. Lay it out on the floor. Powell for three. And now George with a rebound. He backs it back out. Fires a three. Why not? 6 threes for. Now on the switch. George step back three over Reeves. That's good. And the lead is 17 for the Clippers here in the first. Won games each of the last 2 seasons. Normally very reliable. There's a three from Paul George. Boy, the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard back.
Really, the effort has been so much greater here in the second half. That's what the Clippers might have needed. You know, a tough shot. The ball has not been going in, but the Clippers' offense is just an easy one for him, I suppose.
George for three again. Hits again. Back-to-back triples by Paul George. This is 9 points now. Paul George drills another triple. That's his 5th. He's got 25 points and out there with 5 personal fouls. George pull up three, buries it, and gets the Clippers within 1. There's a 10th of a second.
Barrett gets his usual rest. George sets and hits. Just his second field goal. He was 1 for 7 prior to that.
Harden. Swing it. Powell for George. Count it for 3.
Care of the basketball and working more collectively here on this end.
Paul George has been a one-man wrecking crew for LA.
Paul George with just. George has been busy in this second quarter. Oh, and he continues. George for three. Got it! 18 for George. In a push, they could tie with a three. George, we are tied!
Which means he's touching the basketball every single time down the court.
Jokic already has 3 assists, and that's laced in. It's a 3.
At the defensive end, now he's got his hands full against a red-hot PG.
Paul George money, a 3, and 17 for Paul. Time report with the Hall of Fame foursome of E.J. Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq. 3, George bucket. Nice shot, another good stroke. Good steal, defense man will go the other way, cutting and angling in. 3, George, good! Another 3 and a 2-point deficit.
Man, it's around Jabari Smith Jr. into the corner for Paul George. The three is good. Options yet for Ty Lue's squad. Although, as I say that, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, and newly acquired Daniel Tice getting set to check in. By the way, plenty of time here for now Norman
Can George beat the buzzer? The last time they played, he had 26. Powell drives and dishes to George for the catch and shoot. Trey, it is good. The fourth three, averaging 10 a game. Paul George open three, and that one finally drops.
Yeah, we have outstanding defenders, and you see how they turn defense into offense. Paul George, I like this zone right here, too. You guys can just do a good job of playing the area. That was too easy. Victor trying to go underneath the top of the screen.
Westbrook. George for three.
Yeah, I mean, those guys.
Tyronn Lue's got his bench getting ready to come in. Paul George receives that.
That you've brought every single day, and not once have we heard you feel like you're down on yourself, you feel sorry for yourself. We're taking this thing head on, and you
George, deep.
That looked good as soon as it left his hand.
Spur this season. George goes in a three.
That's killer.
George, 8:11 on the clock. Sohan trying to keep him in front, but he is red hot from the outside now. As Paul George, another three.
The only way
14 points.
Due to injury, starting to get healthy as Paul George rises for the three, and the band sings hallelujah. First three of the game. Transition pull-up. That's actually a pass to Tucker. Hands to George for the corner three. It's good one way or the other.
That's what you work on. See, Tucker comes late.
Harden back the other way. Clippers don't have numbers, but Paul George rises for the triple anyway. Oh, and he cashes in. Third three for George. He has against the Pelicans. By the way, the Clippers take the lead for the first time tonight. Can they feather the nest? George for three. Indeed. 20 for George. Harden. The pass. George knocks down a three, and the Clippers jump out in front. Great feed.
Gets you to help. You help off of him, then he makes the assist to a teammate.
Paul George gets it right back. George now
Out to Harden working against Barnes. Sprays it to the corner. One more to George for three. And Paul George knocks down the three ball.
I like the rotation.
Edwards starting him. George for three. It'll count. With .9 to go.
Guess what he does every night.
Yeah.
He's showing up on the defensive end of the floor.
Paul George with the three. Got it. PG-13.
Again, second night of the back-to-back. He do not have a lot in the tank.
Looked like they were going a little zone. It didn't matter to Paul George. Ripped
For the Dubs from beyond the arc. Paul George,
you do not want him to heat up. He's 1 of 9 and had this pick and roll now.
Paul George, well defended, but there's Westbrook again. Paul George three, and he got it off the Westbrook offensive rebound. They kept reading it. Clay 22, Steph 22, Draymond 13, PG 13 hits a three.
Snatched that basketball. No one was getting that one from him.
George for three. Oh, it's 2 shots in a row for George. He has the last 5. Brooklyn State did lead by 24 on Tuesday in Sacramento and lost the game. Clippers looking to battle back as George retaliates with a three of his own.
You gotta get the ball out of Harden's hands.
Man, George is open for the three. It's good. The shot clock is dark. They're down by 2. George wants it all. The three. Oh, my goodness.
And you have to be on a championship team. Rising for three is Paul George, and it's the first three for the Clippers.
Paul George is
Leonard in the corner. Paul George, a good look. Hits it. And the Clippers have their first lead tonight. Shot clock at 2. George has to hoist it. He does, and he buries a three. Big shot by Paul George. Clock at 5. George straight away. Three is good.
what a heads-up play. Paul George having trouble shaking.
The Clippers here. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth. George again. 5 threes now for Paul George.
And the offensive rebound. Here's George, a good look. He got it.
The one thing I will say about the Clippers threes compared to the Jazz threes, far more consistently their guys.
Against Leonard tonight. Off to George in the corner. He got it. Timeout, Utah. The Clippers
delivering.
Led by as many as 14. It's down to 5. Paul George with a flyby. The three is good. First shot of the second quarter is a good one. In 13 games and now over 200 minutes, he has been really good when he's on the floor for the Blazers. George hits a three. They have found a cheat code in the year with a sprained ankle. A 39% career three-point shooter. It will come back. It's never left. Paul George, he gets a lead saw in Sacramento. Martin picked up by Murray. 9 to shoot for George. The three is true. I'll tell you what, bottle this up for the Clippers. Paul George getting his hands in. Power play if they hurry. George calls his own number. The three is good. A 5-0 strike for George. Up by Randall. 9 to shoot. George, corner three. Oh, it's good again. His second three of the quarter. He's got 16. George fires the three. It's good. That might be the Candles on the cake. 133-106.
Tied at 16. Westbrook finds George. His three is good. George had first quarter points. Isaiah has 11. Brown has 9. Here's George for three again. And Paul George has 8. TJ had 10 points and 6 assists Saturday night in Minneapolis. Here's a step back three again by George. A 13. Now George has it guarded by Toppin. 2.5 to play in the quarter, and George again for three. Harden looking, finds George. He's been red hot from the top of the key, and it continues. George from the outside, and that three is good for Paul George. Second leading. Paul George from the outside, just the third three. Almost the exact same spot that he made that last three, but Zubac, the offensive rebound, the kick out, open three, Paul George. And all of a sudden, the Clippers are really struggling from three. That's a great rebound. Kind of, he had to wonder very cool. And coming out of the timeout, it's a cool shot there.
Good things happen. Put it in your pocket.
It's a little extra hustle, but Paul George steps into that three and rattle.
How long Ty Lue goes with his original game plan defensively, then you have to make adjustments.
The Clippers do have a couple of equalizers, and Paul George signs his autograph on the game. 5.
They spread you out. They have the ability to put the ball on the floor and create shots, and PG launches and he's got these players here. Perhaps some new ideas or new ways of looking at it, and that's really changed things there.
Paul George for three. That ends at 10 and some with back-to-backs. George again all alone in the corner. This time he gets it there and knocks it down. Paul George now with 5. And it's the second time they've had that play develop in their last few possessions. Most games played while trailing by double figures in the league. George for three. It's good. Clock going down. Harden double team finds George. Hot potato three. Oh, it's good for George. 15. And the Clippers jump out. Harden. Hayward gives chase, but after Paul George releases, that's his third three. George in the corner for three. Bucket! The ready hands of Amir Coffey.
One of the lanes will be wide open.
George a pull-up three. Oh, it's good! A confident stroke. George all alone for the rhythmic three. Got it! And Paul George coming to... George for three. It's good! And for the first time in a long time, the cut the lead down to 5. George, catch and shoot three. Bucket for Paul George. 16 for George. Clippers by 8. To shoot for Harden. Not a ton of ball movement here. Just the two guys playing catch. George fires a three. Okay with that one. 19 for George. His second kick. Well, no team runs more isolation plays than the Clippers. As Paul George connects on the three-point shot. No Kevin Durant tonight. A significant losses. George connecting on his first 2 triples. Pulling the classy veteran move, and ultimately the right veteran move as Paul George connects on his 3rd trip.
that pocket pass. Zubac. Catch and shoot. Knocked down for Paul George. Quickly. George gets a screen. Gets a wide open look. Wide open.
Starts at help Tabitha. Leads early. Paul George.
Nothing you can do about that.
That is really.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Even the clock. Harden doesn't mind that. And the wrong guy to walk away from.
Well, the thing is, what B.I. had to do is he had to take away Daniel.
Harden. And again, a wide open look. Same result. And once you got into the paint.
So now you kind of want to keep Zion in that situation to see how he's shooting that ball, to see how they respond to it.
And Paul George, 15-point game. Paul George, the hot hand, and it continues.
And the thing is, Herb Jones turned his head just for
Paul George. He's got Larry this time.
He also has a 2-for-1.
Yeah. And he's got another triple. He's lighting it.
Harden with the weave right on him. Cross court all the way to Paul George. Hesitated for a moment, and then he knocks it down. Max has played 20-plus minutes now in 3 straight. Back in the rotation. Paul George answers right back.
This is the guy that Lakers better be concerned about because in the half court, he makes things happen off the dribble.
Yeah, and he's found the best effective field goal percentage in the league since the beginning of December. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. He knocks down
the new additions for Phoenix. They really revamped their roster from the team that went to the NBA Finals. George for 3. It's good. Saw a lot of that last week in Phoenix. Playing one another. George goes to work on Booker, loses the handle, recovers. Around the screen from Zoo. George, catch and shoot 3. Yes, sir! 69. George given space for a moment. That's all he needs. He rips the cords for his 4th.
effective.
Again, back and forth we go. George for 3. It's good. 7-3 for the Clippers. I think it's a great place to go. You're living a good life there. Here is George for 3. It's good again. Paul George now with his second 3. Another one right here. Harden picked up by Schroeder. Gives to George. Hesitates for a moment. Oh, it falls anyway. It's a third 3 for 5 remaining. George, catch and shoot, corner 3. Oh, it's off. 24 for Kawhi driven off the line. George beats the buzzer to 3. Oh, it's gone! By man down, George with 6 to shoot. George trying to create fadeaway 3 is in, and Paul George
with very good individual offensive players.
Paul George 4-3. Paul George is on 17 baskets. Skip pass. George. Step back 3 by Paul George is in. Paul George.
For his Grizzlies team.
Paul George having a whale of a first half for the Clippers.
Partner, they only shot 41%.
Yes. Starry 3-pointer. Rev, you had 13. Chris is going to need more area for a score. George. Paul George, 6th triple of the game. 6 of 9. George.
Well, I tell you, as I said, he's been rated off.
Outside look, Harden thinking about it. PGD corner. Hits his first shot of the ball game. They have 56 points. Outside look, Paul George is good.
Really is pretty exciting.
For Anthony Edwards. Leonard over to George. Good look at a 3-ball and he answers. More ball movement. Harden finding Paul in the corner for 3.
Minnesota scramble on that position. Or a lot of contact underneath. Leonard, George, get it! Loose balls, right? Or to go along with all the defense that he brings to the table. George has to hurry, and he hits! And this is the next season meetings. First one taken by the Thunder in Oklahoma City in December. Paul George buries it from number 2 and number 4 teams in the West getting it on here in LA. Paul George bangs it from the field.
And not known as a defender. James Harden did a great job.
90 seconds left. Harden to man. Nice fake to kick. George contested 3. My goodness. His third quarter. George for 3. It goes. His first. It's the 6th. Clippers had one of those losses back in November. George for 3. It's good. 114-106, 5:15 to play.
Trying to get by Reeves, cannot. Late clock here, down to 3. Paul George for 3, up and over Prince, cash, money. Paul George.
We'll do him.
George, the 3, good.
The mid-range, good offense and defense.
Paul George sidestep the 3, good.
That's tough.
There's right there here early on in the third. RJ stumbling, and George connects.
But back-to-back, Clippers can lose some steam in the second half. They better. They better in the NBA.
Nice save down there. It's George set up for 3.
Those kill you. Those 3.
Jalen Duren, 11 points, 12 rebounds. Paul George. Tough 3. You don't want to George with a bounce to Westbrook. Pistons double him. George free for the 3, and it's through. Monty Williams will take a timeout.
Right. Basically covers one three-point line to the other. But I have to think JJ is a former player. Almost everybody wanted to be part of Heat culture at one point as Paul George hits a 3.
The LA Clippers have with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the wing as defenders.
Both in the top 6 in steals per. Harden really looking to shoot here in the fourth quarter, but he gave it up that time. George's 3 is good, and a timeout.
6th in pace. PG from the 3-point line, nothing but net.
We're there.
All together. Harden fires it out to Paul George.
You just talked about Jeff
Marina. Kawhi kicks it out. Paul George back in and firing. And he hits another 3. His
stretch here for the Pistons, who lead 52-43. George for 3. It's good. George down with 13. George steps behind the 3-point line, knocks down the tray. 18 for George. That's the game's high water mark. Clutch minutes defined by the NBA. 5 minutes to play in a 5-point game. Paul George trying to add to the lead and does. Clippers by 10 in the quarter. George catch and shoot 3. Good. Big shot by George. 31. James Harden bounces ahead to man. George a transition 3. It's good. For the first time tonight, something that's been a problem for the Clippers of late. George, catch and shoot 3. Paul George with a dozen.
Guys back and healthy has been so important to the success of the Golden State Warriors.
It's the 3rd game back for Payton as Paul George drills the.
Paul George kept the pivot foot up. George from the sideline. Well, the 3-point shot right now. Good. Paul George makes sure the feet are behind the 3-point line and cashes in the 3. Kawhi a pump fake. Paul George lines up the 3 and hits, and the Clippers go up 7. Paul George just 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting. He can get hot in a hurry.
These guys are professional schools.
Yes, they are.
The thing about them.
Zubac's offensive rebound. Paul George for 3. Offensive rebound. Leonard had the 10-point third quarter. Paul George delivers a 3-point bomb.
Beat to Zubac, but it sure would be nice if he could
Join us Sunday afternoon in Minnesota. Paul George curls, catches, and connects.
No, that's not the case. They have talent, but unfortunately, their talent hasn't mixed itself together to win games. But that talent right there.
Roll by Rudy Gobert, bringing in the low man to help, and that low man's getting burned.
Paul George with his first field goal. Started. Fifth turnover for Minnesota. Paul George just gave the Clippers the lead.
Not allowed him to get off in the game.
Combination. Paul George, he's been off for most of this game, and of course.
So this lineup, to start this game, obviously got to get used to themselves here together, playing together. No idea why he was making this motion to me. And then he realized that, don't forget about me. I'm actually the franchise leader as Paul George. 7 minutes left to play in the third quarter. Pocket pass from Harden, the kick out. Paul George off the 1 foot, nothing but net.
We just see Sunday to a Monday. You got to make some different decisions, and it's on field. They're all gambles.
Paul George sinks the three-pointer. Paul George silences the crowd, but top 14 in the Western Conference. Final few seconds. Paul George.
And emerging as a very talented, switchable forward in this league. George starting to find his rhythm and flow.
Mark, just a tough break because, like you said earlier, he was playing great basketball at the beginning of the season.
Having a career year and part of the prolific pick-and-roll tandem with James Harden. Plumlee with the hard roll, rejected at the rim. Coffee to George, and he scores it. Paul George. Harden. Leonard sprays it out to the corner for the lead. George got it. Splash.
And Zoo in a sea of red comes away with a loose ball. George, rhythm dribble for three. It's good for Paul George. 8-59 in that second half on Wednesday. Leonard, 5 to shoot, finds an open Paul George for three. It's good. George with
his star is rising quickly. Anderson guarding Paul George. George buries a step-back three-pointer. I mean, I'm in the back. There's a lingering issue, and they were addressing. Paul George, who hits a three-pointer.
Really keen on the ball. They're sending 2-3 guys at him, so these other guys have to step up.
George hits a three.
But everybody's going to have to pick up the scoring load because Kobe's not out there right now.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of their offense as well.
Sumu doubles. Caruso on Powell. Cross court George. The chance to get over, but George hits again. 10 points for George.
You got to get that rebound.
He got the offensive board instead for LA. And George cashes in. Boy, George and Leonard red hot to start. George. Caruso got out on him, and it did not matter. This guy is just one of those nights for a good shooter. Rotation to Coffee. Back out for George. It's now time of night for Paul George. Powell was able to recover. Wow, what a pass. All the way across the court. And it's been like Paul George cannot miss. And he's
Jose on Paul George. He's going to take the long one and get it. So Paul George is up to 13.
What Larry just...
Larry coming out to help. Step back, Paul George, look good out of his hand. Yeah, he likes to shoot. Yeah. We were in the desert last game.
You can't go under. You can't go under.
I will say, as talented as Kyrie is, he's not the trash talker that Larry Bird is. That is for sure. George coming off the screen, curling, catching, and connecting right now. Driven off the line by Johnson. Then Johnson loses his footing. Harden finds an open George for three. Book it. And the comeback begins. Clippers down 60.
He already has, as you see by the shot, very good shooting form. It's just a matter of volume and confidence. And speaking of volume and confidence, Paul George.
I would imagine that Ty Lue gives this lineup about 2 minutes to get something going here. George for three. There's something. It's a 10-3 for the Clippers. 96-77.
More pressure and fall back into a zone look. It appears that is what they're doing here. PJ Tucker holding right on over there with a screen.
George picked up by 8 as they switch out. George leans back and he delivers a triple of his. P.J. Tucker with it. Out on top to George. Measures the 3 accurately. Nothing but net. To Florida. They go on to play. Here's George stepping outside. Flings the 3. Got it. It is. Oh, I'm getting 2 mixed signals. Is it Florida or is it Texas? George.
Schemes defensively. He rebounds. He's a big reason, even as a rookie, why the Blazers have the best offensive rebounding percentage after the All-Star break.
Twice these 3 guys there. Yeah, man throws out of it here to George. Gets off the shot in time, but 23.5.
But he made the simple pass. And then Chris followed suit.
George a 3.
Of course, that doesn't happen as seamlessly as it does if we don't have the leadership in Joe Cronin and Dwayne Hankins, who are behind that kind of thing. But with
since Embiid went down, it hasn't affected the way they shoot today. They've been incredible. George for 3. Knocks it down. It's 54.
Back on the ball.
George for 3. It's good. We are. Leonard. Bamba with the closeout. George.
Actually, you've got to make that rotation quicker to the open shooter. Hield.
Harden with 10 assists. Harden with 11 assists and 0 turnovers. The other way, Clippers find 2. George. For 3 over Siakam, and he knocks it down. Clippers are shooting 55%. The league winning percentage is 90% when you shoot 55. That's growing with George.
The ball. He thought he was fouled, so did the crowd. They have something else to boo now. George lines up the 3, and that's good.
I think there are some moments where you feel like this Clippers team needs someone to hunt shots and to get them going, and Paul George could be that guy.
Paul George this season, nice feet inside.
You've got to apply it. You have to put it into practice.
Paul George launches a 3, and that's the first.
Be in a ball game, and they continue to answer and extend runs.
Paul George finds some room and nails the 3, comes right back.
Make a push. You don't get a call on one end. That's that toughness, that resilience. You got to go down. You still have to play on the other end. And Paul George has an answer.
Paul George in a hurry. Goes in ahead to George. Sidestep 3. That's good, and we're tied at 94. Doesn't matter how many.
They'll try it again. Harden finds George. Very patient, professional offense.
No doubt about it.
Norman Powell. Coffee to George. And now George and Miller are tied at 8 points apiece. But it actually is his dominant hand. Westbrook is a left-handed human. If you wanted an autograph from him, he'd sign with his left hand.
Paul George.
Paul George. He is
for a high percentage shot of throwdown by Nick.
Second dunk for Richards. Oh my goodness. Paul George.
He is
ball. Here's George, already 19 points. Oh my goodness! 22 for PG-13.
What a tough shot. That was in the paint, but still not a layup by any stretch.
3-pointer Paul George, his 6th for team high. JT Ford's come in for the Hornets. George, a little hesitation, he still hit it down.
Yeah,
quick passing along the perimeter. Open man is George. With that kind of night, he is named
to March, continuing that trend here in April.
The difference is now is like obviously they've done a good job defensively against this Clippers team.
Davion, 21 minutes Sunday against the Jazz. Here's Paul George, man. He has been on fire from 3 range. We talked about it.
Just sees the game so well, just follows the flow of the game as Paul George rips a 3. And he's trying to play through it, that's one thing. Head injuries, though, make you a little concerned, but apparently he's okay as George rips the court.
Utah Jazz in the regular season. See them trying to establish Zoo early tonight. Right as PG knocks down that 3 just because of the lack of size with all the injuries of Utah. Defensively, they beat anyone in the league. And their defense is ramped back up, and it's here again tonight. Feel a good 3, and why not?
Question will be, and no one knows right now, who they will play in the first round. Right now it would be Indiana as George locks the loads of three and rips the cords for George. Okoro on him, George for three. Oh my goodness! It's a 5-point game! 5 to shoot for George. Picked up by Allen. 2 to shoot. Going to be a tough one. A 3. Oh, it's good!
Strong, a little reverse attempt. Roman Powell getting back to challenge. Transition 3 for George, and just like that, a 9-0 start.
And making him facilitate.
George and Durant draped all over him. A tough contested step back 3.
It's not there at the start. And it has just compounded itself. And now it's at a point where anything they throw up is going in. It's like it's a 30-point deficit in the first quarter.
It's commonplace when James and Zubac get into it. And it's money, like that jump shot coming off of Zubac on the screen. Paul. And he gets back to Paul George.
It's like watching the final brushstrokes of the Mona Lisa.
See, Paul George did 1 and 2. So when he gets
James Harden and the Clippers really started playing well.
They had in the second. Here's George, guarded by Washington, and George still able to hit the 3. That was pretty good defense. Doncic, the only Mavericks in double figures. Here's George again.
That is a great team effort there.
George, he got it. Paul George starting to feel it
for the foul. Previously, Westbrook, early offense, George, money. And I love how final seconds, George is going to fire it up. Hits at the horn.
Behind. Harris back out to man. Shot clock at 3. Paul George rattles in a 3-pointer.
It's about his level of competitive engagement on the defensive end, but now he's going to have to play very smart basketball defensively, and they too will attack him.
Paul throws it ahead. Thread the needle a man. Back up top, George, 3-pointer. Got it. Paul George lighting it up here in the first. Timeout, Mavericks.
Everybody else, Luka's been fine.
Paul George, another 3. Puts it in. Paul George on a mission. Into the paint. Finds Terrence Mann. Shot clock at 4. George, another 3. Another one goes down. He is not hot. Huge hole. Terrence Mann to Zubac. Zubac back to George. Puts it in. Paul George.
Absolute physical beating, you're saying?
Yes. He's staying in the game with 3 fouls. Paul George again. 26 first half points. 7 on the shot clock. George goes in the corner, falling away. Oh, it's good.
In for him. George, 3. Got it. Maybe this can get DG right now. And sets up with the shot clock at 9 and a 3. George sinks 2.
Just lost his mom, and he's trying to figure out how to move on without his superhero. As George knocks at that, and I'll say this, Kathy tries to. Harden drives, goes inside, kicks it out. Westbrook back up top to George. George, 3-pointer is good.